Welcome to being Sharon Gibson's podcast, BSG.
Hello, BSG fighters. Welcome to being Sharon Gibson's podcast. This is season 5, episode 6, featuring Jean-Serge. He is a serial entrepreneur. As intended, I'm going to transform your mind into a strong, positive mind. Before I dive into today's topic, I'd like all of you to know that my TikTok community is different from my podcast community. So check out the videos on my TikTok platform, specially curated for you. Welcome, Jean-Serge.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Today's a great day. It's nice and sunny outside. Things are going good.
That's beautiful. I saw some videos of you in the snow, and I think you were saying that a storm was about to come, but a storm didn't
Yes.
come. It was sort of like a video like that on social media that you posted. And it was
Yes.
really nice to see.
And I'm in Canada, an eastern coast part of Canada. It's a place called Prince Edward Island.
Oh, that's beautiful. You're the second Canadian guest I'm having on my show, and
Nice.
that's nice to have. So can you tell us more about yourself?
Sure. I mean, I'm the creator of a software called Active Group Users. On a personal note, I have 4 daughters,
Beautiful.
and I've been, a programmer, computer geek since I was a teenager,
Wow.
and I've been doing lots of different websites. And like I said, right now I'm focusing on Active Group Users software.
That's amazing. That's nice. That's
Thanks.
really nice. Today's topic is we'll be discussing staying focused. And before we dive into today's topic, the highly successful person I chose for this episode is the late Kobe Bryant. And these are the 2 top rules for success. Number 1, he said, elevate others. And number 2, focus on winning. Have the drive to win. Have it in mind that you have to win. No matter what, I'm going to win. And all credits goes to Evans Carmichael's on YouTube. Let's dive into today's topic.
Sure.
So my first question to you is, people find it hard to stay focused on achieving their goals. And why is that?
That's a good question. I think, I'm not obviously the expert on it, but my personal take on it is because we don't like to do the same thing for a long time, right? We get distracted. We want to do other things. We find that there's not enough results. We think that maybe it's because we're doing it wrong, so we do something else, right? So we lose the focus of where we're heading because we get distracted by all the things that happen as we go, right?
That's so right.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main reason.
I never saw it in that way, because what you're saying is very applicable in my life, because it's like, and sometimes I have to snap out of it and tell myself, Sharon, it's okay, you're doing great. It's like you do the same thing over and over again and you feel like, oh no, let me just do something else. Maybe I'm not making progress. But the good thing is that sometimes some people will see me and go like, oh, you're making so much progress. So that feedback really helps me to stay focused. And that's why I was talking to the first guest and I was telling him that's why I don't really think having routines is ideal, but I think it's like from different perspective, because we as human beings, we just get bored of doing the same thing over and over again, which makes it difficult for us to achieve our goals. Imagine and I'm sure these goals will probably be long-term goals, right? Because if it's a short-term goal, it's easier for you to stay focused and concentrate on it, but a long-term goal is easier for you to get distracted.
I think that for me, I've been doing online marketing since around 2015. I mean, I've been in other businesses before that, but online marketing, and I've probably done, 100 different things, right? Yeah. And every single time I think this is the thing that's going to work, right?
Exactly.
And I probably, if I had stuck to it longer, if I'd stayed focused on that one thing and I just kept going, I might have had better success than, at the time. And today it's like, just like, well, you know what, I'm focusing on this one thing and that's it. There's no more
Just no more starting and
distractions, or at
start.
least
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, exactly. Not letting this distraction stop me, right?
That's beautiful. That's
Mm,
beautiful. So, pleasure is very important. It's always good to have a little break,
definitely.
a little distraction here. Not really distraction, but I'll call it a break. So, how do we meddle pleasure with achieving our goals?
That's again a great question. I mean, for me,
Thank
it's
you.
about mixing, what we love to do with what we work with. Like our business is one thing, right? Trying to mix those things together, but also
Yeah.
it's about taking the time to go out, that expression, go out and smell the roses, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a real thing. Go out there and have a walk in nature. And I mean, obviously that's got to be something you enjoy doing, but most people
Yeah.
do like that, right? Do like going out just in nature, actually smelling the flowers that you see and looking at them and enjoying the beauty, right? That
And looking at
gives
the
you,
ducks.
yeah, looking at the
And
duck
looking at
going,
the ducks of the
yeah,
river. Yeah. I
yeah.
have like a beautiful park close to my apartment.
Do you?
Like I feel like that's yes. So
That's
sometimes I just
that's
like walk in
wonderful.
the park, and it's so beautiful
Yeah,
to see.
yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
think the other thing that's important to realize, and I'm actually listening right now to an audiobook from John Gray, which has to do with the diet and exercise workbook, I think he calls it. But basically, he talks about how our relationships in life are also highly affected by our brain chemistries. And
Mm,
he says that if we don't have the right nutrients, the right exercises, our brain chemistry gets off, and then that's when we have,
mm,
relationship problems, whatever. But the thing is that also is the same in our, if we're constantly working and we never take a break, our brain chemistry
true.
is going to get off and we're going to be like
That's
more
so true.
irritable and everything else, right? So that's why it's super important to have that as part of our routines.
And for me, I'll classify myself as a party girl, and
Mm,
even being a party girl, somebody who loves to go out and hang out and have fun,
yeah,
I do so much. I'm very productive,
that's good.
because I also, as much as I prioritize my work and everything I do, school
Hmm.
and everything, I also prioritize pleasure. I
Right.
prioritize chilling. I prioritize, having fun.
Yeah.
One of my life policy is that, you know moderation is the spice of life, and everything you do it in moderation. So I
Mm,
don't do too much of everything. Like I wouldn't do too much of,
right.
like, work, too much of pleasure. So it's easy for me to like find this balance in my life. I wouldn't for a party,
Mm,
1 week in a row. I wouldn't even do that. You wouldn't
good.
find me do that. And it creates some balance for me, which makes it easier for me to achieve my goals, because my my brain knows that when I put in the work, I will reward it by going out, maybe probably going to
Right.
a nice restaurant, or going to the movies, or going to walk at the park, or playing
Sure.
basketball, whatever it is. So whenever I am working, I'm very productive. Like my brain gives me whatever I need to achieve
Yep.
my
Yep.
my goals. So
Yeah. Rewards
that's
are
how I
important. Yeah.
yeah. So is there a way you can completely avoid all distractions and stay focused on completing a task? And I mean laser focus.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's possible if you break down your tasks, because obviously you can't stay focused for years on something, right? When it's something that
Mm,
takes a long time. So if you have a goal that you're focusing on achieving something, like for example, for me, I have a goal of helping 1,000 people to focus their time and energy on Facebook using my software, right?
mm,
So that goal of
mm,
1,000 is definitely not something I can focus on and just be. I mean, in a way I can, but I can't focus on that one thing. It has to be, how do I get there, right? So you put a
yeah,
plan together, put a bunch of different goals to get there, like building different in my case, building funnel pages, building
yeah,
content that attracts
yeah,
people, and creating,
yeah,
all that stuff, right? But
yeah,
that's the only way you can focus until you achieve a goal is if you know that that goal is achievable in the amount of time that you're giving yourself, right? So I mean,
mm,
you have to know how long it'll take. And if you don't know how long it'll take, then you got to split that up into pieces that you do know. And I think that's the only
That's
way.
true.
That's the only way you can really achieve these focused activities, right? And sure, some people say, well, put headphones on and listen to music if you like that, or other different kinds of things. But for me, it's more about knowing how you can achieve that goal. And if you
Yeah.
if you can't know, you got to figure it out. You got to ask somebody for help. You got to, because if you don't know, you're all it's going to be almost
Yeah.
impossible to achieve it.
And to achieve your goals. And how do I change my habits, to become like a focus field person?
Yeah, that's I think habits is one of the things that is least understood by, I
A
would
lot of
say,
people.
the normal people, right? Not necessarily
Yeah.
driven people that are entrepreneurs and whatever, because we've learned this through personal development. But the thing about habit
That's true.
is that you're not um, tied to your habits. Your habits are just because of what you've done in the past, right?
Mm.
So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to change to have a habit where you're focus filled, then
Mm-hmm.
it's really up to you. You just have to create the habit. Well, first you have to figure out, what does it mean to you? Like I was saying earlier, maybe it's about putting smaller goals, making
Yeah.
time boxed amounts of focus time, right? But
That's
then
true.
if you do something, and this is how habits work, right? If you do something for a certain amount of time, it'll become a
Yeah.
habit, right?
True.
And
True.
some say it's a 30, some say it's a
I say
15,
21.
right? 21, exactly. There's different
Yeah.
thoughts. But my belief is that at least 20 to 30 days of doing the same thing. Well, if it's days, but that's the other thing. It's not days. It's a number of repetitions, right? So if you do something every day, then it'll be after a certain number of days. But if you do something every hour, then it'll be after a certain number of hours, right?
That's so
So
true.
it's kind of like that, right? So I think that's how you would change your habit, is by just starting a new habit. Well, it's not a habit at the
Yeah.
beginning. You got to keep doing it, right? But after a while, it'll become a habit, and you'll be focused more if
Yes,
that's something you
sir.
need to. Yep.
And I'll just add to that by saying that if you really want to be focused on something or be a focus filled person, you always need to find, why am I doing this? Like, why
Mm,
do I want to achieve this? And if your why is so strong, it's easy for you to be focused and get whatever you want done and achieve your goals.
that's
So
true.
thank you. So what are the benefits of being focused?
Uh, well, obviously the benefit is that
Achieving your
you
goals?
achieve your goals, right? You achieve what
Yeah.
you set out to do, right? But I think,
Yeah.
again, like we're talking about brain chemistry earlier, I mean, there's a difference if you achieve your goals, if you stay focused, and like you just mentioned, right? I mean, our why. I've heard that a lot, right? Lots of people say if you got to have a why, it's gonna make you cry, right? But I
Yeah.
think the other thing is also you have to have a vision, because your
Yeah, you
why
have to have a
your
vision.
why is going to get you started, but your
That's
vision
true.
is going to keep you going, right?
Mm,
and your
mm,
and your
mm.
vision of, what
That's
is it that
deep.
I'm trying to achieve, what's my ideal day, all those things, right? We hear those things all the time. And if you are focused, you will have less distractions, obviously. So it's kind of like, both of them affect each other, right? If you have lots of distractions, you're not going to be able to focus. If you focus, you'll have less distractions because you won't let them impact you, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
you'll definitely achieve more if you're focused. That's
that's so true.
everybody's gonna, yeah.
And I think for me, being a focus filled person, for me, I would say that it helps me to have boundaries, and it helps me to know who I want around my space and who I
Mm,
don't. Because it's like I have a vision. I know where I want to go. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I know what I want. So it's more like, okay, this is where I'm going. So when somebody comes into my life and it looks like you don't look like where I'm going to, right? And or
Mm-hmm.
at this point in my life, having you in it will not push me to the next step. So it's more like, okay, being focused and concentrating on my vision really helps me to set boundaries. Because you usually hear people talk about boundaries a lot, and most people don't even know how to set boundaries. But it all starts from self-development and knowing yourself, and um with
Yeah.
that it will be easier for you to set boundaries. Like, you can't just get up, not do anything, and just be like, I have boundaries. You will go against those boundaries and you feel bad about yourself. But it's
Yeah.
like you put it in the work, you actually finding yourself, making some sort of significant impact, or maybe at your place of work, it could be a corporate job or anything. But
Mm,
you having focus helps you to also set boundaries and know, okay, this is what I won't tolerate, and this is what I can tolerate.
yeah.
That's
Yep.
also
Yep.
one of the benefits of being focused. So how do we avoid the guilt from having a little distraction here and there?
I'm not sure that I can answer that because I don't have that. So, I
Me
mean,
too.
like, being guilty of working too much, I don't work that much. I mean, I do balance. I mean, I have like I said, I have 4 daughters, I have a wife, I have a job, so I
Yeah.
kind of have to balance it all, right? So I'm not working 24/7. Not to
Mm.
mention that I'm not a teenager anymore, so I can't stay up till 3 a.m. and get up at 6 to
Mm.
work. I actually have
Mm.
to sleep good. I have to, you know,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of balance. So for me to say, do you avoid the guilt? I don't let it bother me, I guess. If there's ever
Yeah.
any time where I'm like I lots of times I'm gonna feel like, oh my God, I didn't get anything done this week.
Yeah.
Not anything
Yeah.
of value, right? I feel like I
Yeah.
just spin my wheel this week, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I I don't. I mean, I can't let that stop me from moving ahead the next week or the week after, right? I have to
Mm.
just say, you know what, whatever. I didn't have time. I had too many other things going on, and I just didn't accomplish what I was hoping for this week. So
Yeah.
there's no guilt there. It's just normal, right? We're humans. We
Yeah. Just
we
have
can't
like
do
a,
everything.
yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Just have like a
yeah,
conversation with yourself, and you kind of evaluate the last week and say, okay, I
yeah.
didn't do anything of value last week, so I have to do something of value this week. Yeah,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
a good one.
yeah,
That's so true. This is so fast. I didn't expect it to be so fast. We've covered up like everything in the shortest period of time.
yeah.
But before I end the episode, I would like you to kindly share any life lesson you live by.
And I live by you know, being a person who believes that it's important to be honest, that it's important to have integrity. I've done things. I mean, I had a multi-million-dollar business back in 1998,
Mm.
and that I've done other things that I've that haven't had the success, right? So I mean, it's not like, okay, not gonna tell people about it because it didn't work out, so people don't say, "Oh, you're no good. I'm not gonna follow you, whatever," right? I believe
Exactly.
that it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter that you
Yeah,
failed. Actually, it's good that you
exactly.
failed, right? They say
That's it.
failure is just a stepping stone towards your ultimate success, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, the more you fail, the better it is. Although
Mm.
you shouldn't be aiming for failure, right?
No, as
It's
Kobe Bryant said, you should focus on winning.
exactly. You got to
You
think
should focus
of
on
what
winning.
you're trying to accomplish. And one other thing that I do think is so relevant, especially nowadays, is that it it is true that the more people you help, the more you'll have success, right? So, and
Mm.
that's been a mantra in lots of network marketing companies and those kinds of businesses, because that's been what fueled those kinds of business models, right? It's still
Yeah.
valid today, but it's also valid in the online space. I mean,
Mm.
now that the online marketing space is becoming so um,
Concentrated.
controlled, right?
Okay, controlled.
Yeah, I mean controlled by not by the media or the governments or anything, although they're trying to get their hands in there too, but more just by the platforms themselves, right? Like if you look at TikTok or Facebook or
Yeah.
Instagram or LinkedIn, the content you see is not as um, is not anymore up to you in terms of your engagement on Facebook and things like that. You're not going to see content based on that as much anymore. They're taking control of showing you what they want to show you because that's how they make money, right?
I think not necessarily the algorithm. I think there's some sort of like, I mean, they call it the algorithm. So when you watch something over and over again, before you realize that's what shows on your timeline, they don't necessarily control it, but you actually control it based off on what you even research on your phone, probably on Google, sometimes your communication with your friends on WhatsApp and all that. So that would translate in what you see on TikTok or or Facebook or even or Instagram. No, Facebook is not. I don't really get that. But when I mean, I was talking about this with the previous guest, and I said that like when I was dating my ex, and I was in love, so I was watching a lot of love stuff and getting like relationship advice and stuff. So because of that, my whole the whole algorithm change on YouTube, Facebook, in fact, everywhere. Not much of Facebook, but TikTok, Instagram, and I'm like, they just put me in a different, world of love,
You're right. You're
so,
right.
so yeah. So I don't think I think you actually control it much more than like any other third party controlling it based
Yeah.
off of what you research.
No, I agree, and that's been the prevailing belief over the last maybe 5 years. What I'm saying is that's starting to change a little bit, and it's still going to be based on your activities, right? The more you engage on posts about love, like you said, the more likely you're going to see other posts about love, right? But there's going to be more changes in what you see in your feed based on what they want you to see. Like, sure, you're going to see stuff based on your activities. That can't change because otherwise you're going to stop using the platform, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
but what I'm saying is that it's changing a little bit. There's still more. There's changes coming that are going to affect our ability to use the platforms. Like we can't use them the same way we used them 5 years ago. That's for sure. Like for example, 5 years ago, you could create content on Facebook, and you people would see that content based on them being your friends or you following them and things like that. Today, that's less true, even though it still partly is. Because it goes in and, like you said, right, it looks at other things, like what kinds of things are they engaging on. Are they engaging on on things that have to do with parenting or relationships or losing weight? So all those things affect the content we see, and that's why our our the amount of time we spend in the news feed is growing, because we're not seeing what we necessarily want to see. So we scroll up and up and up and up and up, right?
So yeah, so it's I really love your life lesson, which I constantly work on, to have like a high level of integrity and be honest in my dealings with people.
Yeah.
And but sometimes you have to, I feel like there's a white light in certain things, just to like get somebody off your shoulder. Maybe somebody's asking you a question you read, you don't want to answer, and at the same time you don't want to be rude, so you might probably just give a wrong answer. Like I can remember my neighbor was asking me what course I was doing in the university and blah blah blah. I was like, that's too much details. You get it? I don't want you to know where I school. It's enough that you know where I live, but to know where I school and what I do in school. So I just cooked up some course in my head, and I just told him. And he was like, "Oh, really nice." Me too. I was doing that. I was like, "I don't care what you do, bro. Leave me alone." So yeah. So I mean, but aside that, in my dealings with people in business and everything, I constantly working towards having a high level of integrity, because it takes you a long way.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yep.
Thank you so much, Jean. I'm really, really grateful for your time. We've come to the end of the episode.
Sure.
And I'm just going to repeat the top rule, just a gentle reminder from Kobe Bryant, which says, elevate others. As Jean said, that in order for you to be successful, even in online marketing and some of these networking events, they encourage you to, help other people. So elevate others in order for you to be successful, and also focus on winning. Have a winner's mindset. Even when you see yourself failing, have a laser focus on winning. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you all so much for listening to me and Sharon Gibson's podcast. I love you as much as you love yourself. Until next time, bye. Bye, Sean.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have got a strong and positive mind. Don't give up on yourself.
Kindly subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. Love you.